very hopeful at the end of the day because there was this sort of spirit of a commitment to innovative activity. And I imagine curiosity-driven science, all those other things are folded underneath that. And so it left me very hopeful as an educator that there are some super smart people trying to imagine different ways in which our province and our city can move forward. And I imagine the partner sites for the GHIA will also be focusing on that for their communities. Because I think here in Calgary, at least that's what I can speak for, we definitely need that message of hope, that there are different ways in which Calgary can be identified or Alberta can be identified rather than our previous story of just reliance on the extractive economy. So it's really, really good to see that sort of kind of messaging. So I walked away quite hopeful. And I heard that message from several levels, whether it was the directors and sort of the senior leadership of some of the organizations or even the government with MLA Luff speaking yesterday. So it was quite hopeful and some of the pitches were just quite amazing. But before I get there, Nicole Verkint gave quite an amazing talk. I think she did really, really well. And I learned a couple of things. I mean, I learned a whole lot of things, but the two things that I learned were the power of grit and grinding away on your idea. Because an idea does not become real unless you have conversations about it, unless you work at it. And we talked about a number of different books, et cetera, and so on, that might relate to it. And then I also learned that you don't become an entrepreneur unless you lose all your friends and you drink. So that's what I walked away with. But I'm sure you walked away with the same thing, did you? No? Okay. Her talk, by the way, will be posted online through the GHIA website, and you'll be able to see the link. And I think the keynote from today as well will be posted on there as well. So a great digital artifact that you can continue to refer to and to give you heart over the years in terms of sort of proceeding with your entrepreneurship journey, if that's what you want to do, or intrapreneurship. That was the other thing that sort of came up. And yesterday I rang the bell. How many people here swung that hammer? Okay, like, come on. You got to go swing the hammer. So the W21C booth is just amazing. I will confess that I swung the hammer and it didn't really hit the bell. So it's okay to kind of have a weak hammer thing. Okay, anyway. All right. So the other thing that I think I learned yesterday was that the booths and some of the things that are happening, like that architecture sort of exhibit there, demonstrate some incredible design thinking in terms of what we can do to make more healthy and healthier communities along the way. So some incredible sort of adventures you could have just in the lobby while walking around. Then you had those workshops where you learned a few things. And I learned that the value of the American dollar is actually quite a lot higher than I thought. So Paul made some really good points on that. I don't know who was in that presentation. It really killed me. Anyway. Then we went to these presentations. And I have my own 3 things. Okay, first, I'm going to download this app, and I'm going to become a physician. Because all it takes to become a physician is to just give medication. And there's this app that I can just put the weight of somebody and then just like, that's it, right? So I'm going to download that app right away or whenever it comes to market. And then the second thing was this piece of cloth. There was this amazing piece of cloth that would like drape over anything and protect it. And so I think parents who like to bubble wrap their kids have a new option now. There's that sort of kinetic fabric or what have you, so they can just like wrap them up completely. So it's quite amazing. And I also learned that I can practice on real bones. And so my medical training is complete. Okay, who's going to certify me here? Do I even need that? Anyway, so some incredible innovations. I thought the judges had a really sort of tough task in front of them, and my head got like way bigger because of the questions that they were asking. I could see through their expertise, the process that they were thinking through, the nuanced questions they were asking. It was quite an incredible sort of thing just to sit back and listen to the thinking process that the judges were putting the competitors through. So it was quite incredible. So thank you to the judges. That was pretty cool. So I was glad that nobody asked me to ask questions because they would have been terrible questions. So the day begins. We are going to have the final round of 6 today. We are also going to have some adventurers here who are going to be guiding you along the way. I'm not an expert in healthcare, but certainly some of the moderators and MCs that are going to be joining me today are. So I'll introduce you to the two of them who are going to be guiding you for most of this morning as well too. So it's my pleasure to introduce Peter Fenwick. Peter is an engineer. He's a certified health executive and a board member of the Alberta Council of Technologies. And he's known for motivating companies and communities to reimagine health and healthcare. And he's also going to be joined by Greg. Greg Hallahan. He's got a background in psychology, and he has a master's degree in applied science. And they're plotting how to take over the engineering world just before this presentation started. So that was pretty good. He's also the lead human factors researcher and manager for the W21C program, which is kind of the coolest thing in Calgary. I think I said that yesterday, but I can't oversay it. And today we're also going to have 6 finalists competing for some big money. So it'll be about $48,000 in total that they'll be competing for. The first prize is $25,000. In cash, they'll go to this company and help them fulfill their dream. And the second prize is $15,000, and the third prize is $8,000. So this sort of launch off of a competition like this is really, really important for a city like ours right now. It's really, really important because it allows us to sort of encounter stories that are different than what has been our reality for the last few decades. If you talked about any business opportunity that was out of oil and gas, you're kind of met with a blank stare. Maybe this kind of competition will now change that sort of climate that we have in Calgary of entertaining capital going towards healthcare innovation. Could that be the new identity for Calgary? So I'm incredibly, incredibly gratified to be a part of this event and to see what may happen today. So Greg, why don't you take it away from here?
Awesome. Thanks, Raheem. So really excited to be here. I'm just going to go through a quick flow of the day, but first we're chatting about engineering, and I have an applied science degree from an engineering faculty, but I'm not an engineer. And Peter knew that right away, and you could tell because I wasn't staring at my feet while I talked to him. So basically today we're really excited. We have 6 business pitches from our finalists. So at 9 we'll have 3 of those pitches. And interspersed with that, we'll have 2 presentations from the Global Healthcare Innovation Academy partner organizations. We'll have a brief coffee and networking break at 10:15, I think, and then back in here around 10:30 for the next 3 business pitches and 2 more partner presentations. At 11:35, the judges will go off and adjudicate and deliberate and judicate, I don't know. And they will do the hard job while we do some more nutrition break and networking. Just a little networking tip. I noticed this yesterday when I meet someone for the first time, I try to make a personal connection with them by sharing common experience. So fun things to chat about for yourselves, challenging industry trends. You can wager on who the winners will be. I lost a ton of money yesterday, so I'm looking to make that back. And if you're talking to anyone in AHS, there are 2 types of people in AHS. There are those that want to innovate and those that are innovating. So just figure out which one you're talking to and work with them instead of against them. And then at 12, we're going to have an amazing keynote from Suzanne West. And she's going to talk about her experience, I think, as CEO at Imaginia Energy. And then we're going to have our closing ceremony, award the prizes, and just say thank you again to everyone who's participated in this event. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Fenwick.
There's many, many engineering jokes. There's probably an equal number of viola jokes, but we won't get into that. One of the things you probably noticed over the last day, and you'll still notice it today with everything that's going on above, with the recognition for all the sponsors. This kind of event cannot happen without sponsors. It can't happen without all the people that you see out in the lobby area with the booths. And I want to keep encouraging you during the course of the day and the breaks to please take the time to stop by as many of those booths as possible to really appreciate what value the companies have to offer. Both local companies, regional expertise, and in some cases, international. I want to take a minute to just thank and get all of us to give a round of applause to our 2 major grower sponsors, Merck and Alberta Health Services. Our builder sponsors, which are the University of Calgary's Hunter Centre for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Bennett Jones LLP, and Tech Edmonton. Now, the business judges are a little different. You'll see some of the same names and faces as yesterday's scientific competition, but the business jury is made up of a slightly different group of people, slightly different focus, slightly different mix. So I'm going to quickly go through the list of people so you know who's there. The longer bios for these folks are, of course, on our website and the app if you've downloaded it. So this is not in alphabetical order, it's just a random list, and I appreciate judges if you wouldn't mind just standing up and waving to the crowd for a moment so they know who you are. First off is Jason Ding. Thanks, Jason. Jason is executive in residence at Tech Edmonton and the program director of the Tech Health Accelerator, which serves all of Alberta. Derek Hunter. Thanks, Derek. Derek's president of Blue Sky Equities Limited, trustee of the Hunter Family Foundation. Gail O'Brien. Wave. Yeah, thanks, Gail. Gail is entrepreneur and chair of the Strategic Advisory Board for the O'Brien Institute for Public Health, of which the W21C is a part of at the University of Calgary. Samar, now there's 5 syllables here, I'm going to try and get them all. Sanainajad. Thank you. All right, from St. Mike's. She is the Director of Strategic Projects at the Office of VPR at St. Mike's in Toronto. Bob Sartor. Bob's not here, okay. Bob, as you noted, is one of the sponsors of the event as well with Big Rock Brewery. He's the CEO and president. Jim Wilson. Thanks, Jim. Jim is with Innovate Calgary. He's the IP manager for health and environmental technology. Aurelia Weber from Geneva. Oh, way over there. She's over there for now. Okay. She's on the list. Coordinator, Innovation Office. She'll hear from her later and give the presentation for Geneva. Dr. Didier Pité. Professor is the Director of Infection Prevention and Control at the WHO Collaborating Center on Patient Safety. Some of you met him yesterday in the workshops. He's also a scientific person. Dr. Alex Molasiotis. Yeah, thank you. Alex will be presenting later on understanding more about the Hong Kong group. He's the chair, professor of nursing at the, actually it's an interesting title, endowed professor of health and longevity and the head of the School of Nursing at the Hong Kong Polytechnic. Thank you. Dr. John Conley. Of course, our medical director here at the W21C, also with several titles that I won't get into right now, but great. Okay, here's my next one. Ready? This is the phonetics. This is tough with a dry mouth, you know. Dr. Jane Lamère. Okay. All right, that means she has to buy me a coffee. I think it was a coffee. Maybe it's a different beverage. And finally, Jane is clinical professor, director of general internal medicine at the UC, and a specialist at HS, and as well as the vice chair of physician wellness and vitality in the faculty of medicine. And finally, Dr. Jacqueline Ulrich, who's director of university collaborations at RTI International. So that's our list of judges today. It's a long list and full of great talent. You'll notice there's a mix of business experts along with science from yesterday. I'm going to quickly bring up Dr. Derek Hassey. Many of you met yesterday. He's going to be moderating the Q&A sessions between the jury with a couple of reminders for us. Derek is the RBC Professor of Entrepreneurial Thinking at the Haskayne School of Business.
Thank you very much. Okay, everybody. There we go. This works. What I want you to do, most of you were here yesterday, and I can tell you were here yesterday because you were so great at handling the judges' introductions. A couple of you did golf claps, and then you realized we're going to wait till the very end, and then we're going to clap for everybody. So well trained yesterday. So also we're going to do the same thing again as with the timing of our teams. When their 5-minute presentation is over, if they're running over time, we are all going to collectively begin clapping as the gentle hook off of the stage. All right, at which point then we're going to have 5 minutes of questions. That 5 minutes of questions, we're also going to give a gentle hook to our judges who also will like to keep going and going with questions. And we will start clapping once again as soon as that timer goes. So as I said yesterday, don't leave me hanging. When I start clapping, you all start clapping. All right. So I don't want to be the ignorant one who's being mean to somebody, but we're going to try to be on time as much as we possibly can. So thank you very much. Enjoy the day.
Great. Full audience participation. Final reminder. Judges will be using the following criteria to adjudicate the business pitches. These are the high-level areas they'll be focusing on. They are as follows: the problem the business is addressing, past success, target market, competition and competitive advantage, the revenue model, and why their team sets them apart. So let's get started. Raheem.
All right. So this is the first time I've ever heard clapping used as being mean. So that's kind of, maybe these competitors will be scarred for life, Derek. Whenever they hear someone clapping, they think they're doing something wrong. Anyway, so besides the point, I'm just going to pull out my little sheet here. We're going to go in order. So what you're going to see is me introducing the company, and then you're going to see the team, and then you're going to see Derek. So that's how it's going to flow for the morning here. And the first competitor is ScolioScan. From Hong Kong, the presenter is Professor Yongping Zheng. And they're going to be presenting, or he's going to be presenting on radiation-free diagnosis of scoliosis using 3D ultrasound imaging. Professor Zhang.
Good morning, everybody. I have the great honor to be first, actually reflecting my title. So, thank you so much, and I will more focusing on the three things: revenue model, people, our team, and also timing. Okay. Meanwhile, for others, I think many of them are quite similar according to what you have heard me yesterday. So the question we want to solve, or the problem we want to solve, is scoliosis. That is the most common spinal deformity affecting many and increasing number of kids. And there's no available modality that can provide radio-free assessment. This is our opportunity. And scoliosis, as I mentioned earlier, that is from very mild stage and gradually go to severe stage, as later on more and more X-ray will be used and more and more harmful, and the life quality will be significant effect. So therefore, screening, early detection, continuous monitoring, and outcome monitoring closely is so important. However, at this moment, using the current gold standard X-ray, we cannot do that. This is why we need device. And regarding marketing, mainly there's two sectors. One, geological, and our market will be global because there's no similar device in the market. Therefore, gradually will penetrate to all the market. Second, regarding the medical field, and that will be the orthopedics, the orthotics, therapeutic exercise trainings, healthcare screening, all these kind of related areas. We need this kind of devices. So there are some successful stories like awards, like clinical practice, the collaborators, and also our patent and trademark. And this actually set a foundation for us to move forward. However, today we are talking about business. Having technology, having the patent, having the trademark, having the clinical partner is only one thing. But how to make us really successful with all this competitive edge that we have in comparison with existing technology, X-ray, no matter other techniques. And we also yesterday mentioned ultimately that can be very small, very mobile, but we have to get the money, okay, from the pocket of the users. And this is the most important thing that we are talking about today. So there are several ways, like traditional medical devices, definitely we can distribute to all the market, sell piece by piece. And actually we are discussing with quite a number of distributors in European countries, and those countries recognize CE because this device already got CE in July this year, after about 10 years development. So that is one area definitely will going on. However, we also realize there's a great opportunity of further business development with some other sectors. Currently, we have two companies in China that discussing with us. They want to set regional center, like in one city. They set 5 sets. And these 5 sets were used to screen all the regions, kids, and also provide continuous monitoring in that region, district. So this is another model. Certainly we can lease, rent, this another model. So regarding our team, and this inherently, or to start, actually we have academic collaboration with the company. The company we are collaborating is a traditional OEM company. They have 2,000 employees now have a manufacturer site in China. And we need to work with them and to lift them technologies. So this is why we come in with all these IPs technologies. And another thing that now we hired a CEO. His earlier job is a VP in a multinational company. So for many years, so this is why with his experiences, we can push the market, okay, there. So I somehow in charge with the technical side the co-founder, the chair, actually is also the invest company. So he is more focusing on the finance side, human resources side. So this is our team. Certainly we have a lot of engineers from different sectors. Our opportunities, and this is also timing. As I yesterday mentioned, in the field, all the clinicians realized early screening, close monitoring is so important. This is our opportunity. Second, in Hong Kong, we have nearby big manufacturing sites. So there's a lot of ultrasound companies there can provide us cheap and high quality devices for us to integrate. So certainly Hong Kong, like Calgary, we are very focused on innovation, and this is our opportunity. So this is my last slide. I think the time exactly 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Jason, I think I saw your hand go up that you'd like to ask a question. There, like that.
Sure.
Chris is all over this. Let's.
So can you talk a little bit about the value proposition for your customers? So, from a reimbursement perspective, have you done any sort of economic analysis around?
This is a very, very good question. So I can answer in several folds. Okay, the first thing is that this device actually can attract the patients because they can find a lot of patients. This is why exactly in China there are two sets. They use this to screen and screen out, then become their patients. So the clinicians really like that. This is the first thing. And regarding the reimbursement, actually different countries, different regions are using totally different ways. Like in US, Canada, you have one way, but in China, Hong Kong is totally different. So we need to find different sectors, okay? So one thing we can convince the insurance company or the government is if we use this scanner, later on the severe case will drop. So ultimately socio-economical value will be increased. So this is really a niche point. Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Pate.
Thank you. Yes, my question is totally related to what you just said. This issue should be resolved in epidemiological terms. I don't want to make science here, but we need to know what need to be the cost of the machine and what need to be the number needed to treat or the number needed to go to the machine to prevent one of these scoliosis so that you will know the cost of not having to treat this scoliosis. So did you build up this model?
This is a very, very question. Actually, in the whole field, there's some kind of challenging is that this already has a statistical value along all the years that they have many big database. Only about 15% of the case, once they're identified with sclerosis, means above 10 degrees. Later on, only 15% will progress to severe cases. Then 85% will not. But the problem is that we do not know which 15% will progress. So this is why all the 100 cases, once identified, have been followed. And to a certain stage, they have to wear a brace. And this is very painful. But once again, even for those above 20 degrees cases, still only 15% will progress. But we don't know. This is why we need a very frequent and close follow-up for this.
I'm sorry, you did not really understand my question. My question is, how many children do you need to screen for how long to prevent one case? Let's say even if this is a more than 20% case. Because that's the real business issue question. That's the only way you will know if the machine, for the perspective of which preventive medicine is the real issue, would be viable.
Okay, I try to repeat your question so to make sure that I totally understand your question. The question is that if I scan some portion of or some number of kids and ultimately find one, for example, I scan 100, find one. Certainly this scan result 100 needs some cost. And then whether this cost can actually recover to treat this one, if not found, they have to be treated later. Okay, so this is sometimes cost issue. I'm right? Yeah. Okay. So for this, frankly, for that detailed analysis, we have not done yet. But according to our collaborator, we have a lot of collaborators, that the question is that up to now, we are not able to find them. Okay, not able to find them. Therefore, many of them will just progress. So that number itself is there, and particularly for many regions, like Hong Kong, they have very good healthcare system. I believe in Alberta, you should have similar. This is why these kids were found early. But for many places like China, many will go to the later stage. And once go to the later stage, I can tell you, one case go to the surgery, even in Guangzhou, China, one of the city, 300,000 renminbi. Okay, so this is very, very intensive. So I believe even from 1,000 we scan one is already very worthwhile. But I believe that the number was much higher than that. So even though I do not have statistical data to answer your question very scientifically, but we totally believe on this according to the interaction with all the clinicians.
Okay. Dr. Olich?
Yes, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
You referenced that your CEO was a vice president, he or she, in a multinational company.
Yes.
Does he or she have experience with IP in the Chinese context?
Yes, actually, we can mention this. He is the VP of the Baxter. Okay, that's a multinational company related to renal disease. So he actually, sorry. He established the company in China. Okay, so
Yeah.
so the short answer, yeah.
Yes,
This
good
way.
answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good. All right. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you.
Okay, Aurelia, are you waiting in the rings? Awesome, so we're loading it up. Thank you so much. We're gonna have interstitial. So between, remember the flow, we're gonna have a presenter. Judges are gonna adjudicate. While they're adjudicating, you have the opportunity to hear from our partner organizations. The first is from Geneva, Aurelia Weber, coordinator of the Innovation Office at the University Hospital of Geneva in Switzerland, is up. Well attired, look at this.
So hello everyone, or should I say Yahoo? I've just learned that I just received this amazing hat at the airport 2 days ago. So I'm gonna be here so you can hear me. And so thank you for your hospitality because I mean it looks amazing. So I'm Aurelia Weber, I'm working at the Innovation Office of the Geneva University Hospital, and I'm going to talk about innovation in Geneva. First, I want to tell you the story of this man. His name is Henri Dunant, and he was a businessman, a Swiss businessman born in Geneva. Well, during a business trip, he arrived in Solferino after the battle, and he was horrified to see thousands of soldiers lying wounded and dying on the battlefield with no hope of medical assistance. So this is how we came up with this amazing idea of having a neutral organization that would provide medical assistance to the wounded soldiers. A few years later, he created the Red Cross. And for this amazing innovation, he was awarded the first ever Nobel Peace Prize. Now, this is amazing to see that this innovation has shaped the future of the city of Geneva, which is now one of the most important centers of global governance. The city of Geneva is a center of expertise in humanitarian action, but also in other areas, including science and health. Now, when I was preparing this presentation, the president of the committee told me, Aurelia, you should not keep this picture. I mean, this is confusing. There is too many information. But I kept it. It's not because I like to say no to the president, but this is because this is exactly what I want to show. You see, this is the western part of Switzerland, the Lake Geneva region. And in a very restricted area, we have hundreds of biotech and medtech companies, international organizations, research centers, laboratories, startups, and of course, universities and hospitals. We call it the Health Valley. The Geneva University Hospital is a key player in this very rich ecosystem for medical innovation. It is the #1 university hospital in Switzerland in terms of volume of activity. It has more than 10,000 collaborators in 180 professions. The academic partner is the University of Geneva, which is very well known for its high level in research, especially in the biomedical field. So you understand that this is a very fertile ground for innovation, not only in the medical field, but also in technical and administrative and human resources. Now, at the hospital, we strongly believe that the innovation should come from our employees. Anyone in the institution can bring new ideas to provide good care and better care to our patients. Now, this is why we promote this bottom-up approach. So why this approach? For 2 reasons. First, the quality of ideas and their implementation. People on the front line identify the biggest opportunities and needs for innovation. and second, for the empowerment of our employees. People are more self-satisfied and motivated if they feel they have an active role in the institution. Now, I like this picture because this man is a MRI technician, and he presented a brilliant idea during one of our Innovation Day, and he won the special prize. He invented a new product to clean MRI machines. And you can see how happy and proud he is to present this idea to the whole institution. Now, to promote the bottom-up approach, the hospital created in 2009 the Innovation Office. And what we do, our core activity is to support the innovative projects. We are a low-threshold contact point for all innovators. We provide assistance in different many areas, including, of course, intellectual property and other fields. And to help them, we have established a very strong network. We facilitate the contact between the innovators and all the key players that are active in the innovation process. And we, of course, foster a culture of innovation by organizing events such as the Innovation Day every year and the Café de l'Innovation, which is a more informal gathering every month. Now, as you know, innovate means taking risk. So this is what we think we should do at the Innovation Office. We should just jump and go for it when we see a good opportunity. And actually, this is me on the picture, so I strongly believe in that. But this is not always compatible with the activity and the core mission of a public hospital. So this is actually what we do. We do go forward, we do innovate, we jump, but in a very safe environment with the helmet and the safety net and everything. We have to take into account and to accommodate with the legal boundaries, heavy procedures, administrative delays. So in fact, this is why it is so important to have the Innovation Office in this kind of institution, because we help the innovators develop their ideas as freely as possible. Now, despite these few challenges, we have some amazing results with more than 200 innovative projects that were supported by our office since its creation in 2009. We've had hundreds of invention disclosures. We've provided advice from experts and different kind of supports. And this led to various collaboration agreements, IP contracts. And we have filed more than 100 patents and helped with the creation of more than 10 startups. Now, this is how our Innovation Day is working. It's been created in 2007 by Professor Didier Pittet, and I'm not going to go into detail because it's working, it has the same structure as the event we are attending now. But what we offer, and it's very important for us, we have a specific support for the innovators. We help them we support the project before the event, but also after the event. And of course, we offer many prizes. We have the public voting also. And you can see the winners here on the pictures. Some of them are here today. Now I want to give you a very specific example of the kind of project we are following at the Innovation Office. So this is Alain Lacra. He's a physiotherapist. And he had a very good idea when working with the patients of a new implant for amputees. And basically what it does, it changes the weight is supported. And then compared to traditional prosthesis, it allows a better hip mobility. So we developed this idea with the orthopedic surgeon of the hospital. Together, they presented at the Innovation Day, and they won the first prize in 2011. And then we helped them start a collaboration with a local medtech company called Medacta. We patented and licensed the technology to this company. Then they obtained the CE mark for commercialization in 2014, and now they are currently starting the first clinical trials. Now, before I finish my presentation, I just want to have a quick look into the future. Innovation is one of the main axes of the strategic plan 2020. What you see on this picture is our new inpatient building, and we are currently creating in this building a new innovation center. And we are including, of course, the activities of the Innovation Office, but what we want to do is grow bigger. We want to help more projects, of course. And this center is going to be a big innovation hub where everyone can gather, people from different specialties, but we want also to include the patients in this process. Now, this is a new project, so I unfortunately can't say more about it now, but I hope I can come back in a few years and tell you more about it and have a new hat, of course. So thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions for Aurelia? Oh, we have a question right there.
Chris is coming.
Thanks very much for the presentation. You talked about the safety nets. This is something what I personally believe we lack in our innovation macro and micro environment. Would you please elaborate on safety nets that your government or your infrastructure provides you?
Yes, what I was talking about is the legal issues, because sometimes, I mean, we are a public institution, so it's public money, most of it, not all of it. But what we've experienced is sometimes when we have to go through a commercialization and we have to think like, I mean, business-like. Sometimes it's not very compatible. So what we have to do is discuss with the lawyers to find good ways to find a solution so we can go forward and sign the agreement with the company, but keeping in mind that we have some ethical things we have to take into account. So this is why we have some boundaries. But until now, we've always we have always found some solution. But it's true that we have some freedom, but we cannot do whatever we want because we are a public institution.
Okay, maybe one more question. Yes.
Thank you for a very clear and interesting presentation. My question is about finances. And so who funds innovation? About a decade ago, Dr. Conley organized for an alternative payment plan for physicians, and in it incorporated almost $20 million in innovation funds. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most exciting times for physicians, where we actually had some money to think about being creative and innovative and do something to enact the products of that creativity. Obviously, the fiscal times are difficult, and the governments and Alberta Health Services are finding it challenging. So how do you promote the idea that innovation ultimately results in better ways to deliver care that may in fact cut costs?
This is a very good question. Actually, we have very good support. I mean, sometimes we have financing from the institution itself, so from the services, the department. When it's very early stage, most of the time it comes from the institution. And then we have a private foundation, and so we received many funding from private investors and mécènes. I don't know if you can say that in English. So thanks to this foundation, we can help many projects to go forward. So this is better for the project than since it's private funding. We do not depend on the public money. So it helps a lot, yes.
Very good. We're gonna, okay, Dr. Conley.
Thank you for Mr. Chairman. Just a question. In Alberta, we have a large province, and I would say we have more of a dispersive, distributive model for innovation. You're building Innovation Hub. I've actually thought a great deal about this, that a multidisciplinary health sciences building Innovation Hub might be a better route to go, but what was your experience in looking at a more distributive model versus now you're going to building an Innovation Hub? Did you see that as a distinct advantage, and if so, why?
That's a good question. Actually, inside the hospital, we've observed that there are many teams that are doing projects to support innovation. And so what we want to do is try to gather all these forces, all these people together in the Innovation Hub. And the Innovation Hub is going to be in collaboration with all the ecosystem of Geneva. So, this is a new project, but the idea is really to gather all the experience we have inside the hospital. And now we can see that some people are doing innovation in their own department, but we want to bring everyone together in this hub.
Thank you, Aurelia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep it.
So, thank you. kind of cool that a city of 200,000 or so people is able to do that. And this is a city of 1.3 million people. Maybe we can start a knowledge district perhaps here and sort of learn from places like Mars and Geneva and the cool things that are happening over there. So definitely an interesting sort of lesson. The next sort of team that's up is finalist 2. And preventing maternal care at birth, Mintaka from Switzerland, with the presenter being Dr. Robin Offord. And he's going to be presenting on dry stabilized oxytocin inhalers to prevent excessive blood loss in childbirth. Doctor.
Good morning. In the 18 hours or so since we last met, a further 300 women, probably somewhere in the world, have bled to death after giving birth. And this morning, more than 3,000, although they survived, are beginning life now as survivors, severely debilitated and anemic as a result of what's happened to them. So for us, what we have as a value proposition in terms of impact to put to investors is the powder formulation of oxytocin, which I spoke yesterday, which replies perfectly to the WHO's requirement, in fact exceeds it, placed in a low-cost breath-powered inhaler for self-administration of this vital drug, self-administration alone or preferably with, say, the assistance of a traditional birth attendant. Yesterday I spoke of the competition that such a thing would meet in the high-risk regions of the world, basically the poor countries. And I'll happily go back through what I said about misoprostol, carbetocin, and alternative powder formulations if anybody would like me to do that. But what I would add is that we don't think that our material will displace the current gold standard in developed countries, which is injectable oxytocin, because that works perfectly well as long as you have a refrigerator and injection-trained personnel. There are plenty of those in developed countries. So our target zone is the high-risk regions. And you can see them on this map. This is one of those maps where countries are swollen if the problem is large and shrunk if the problem is small. And so you can see that it's Africa, Southeast Asia, and South Central Asia, which are the target zones. And it's, since our formulation is designed to be used prophylactically as well as for emergency treatment, it should actually be available at every single birth that takes place. And this defines the addressable market as 88 million doses per year. That's of course the addressable market, it's not what you actually get. And we think that we can establish that there's a very, very considerable factor for cost effectiveness, which might get us to be the gold standard in such places, in that the formulation itself is very cheap. It consists of oxytocin, an ordinary amino acid, a natural sugar, and a simple salt. The inhaler, designed by our partners in Mankind Corporation, is a marvel of reductive engineering and will only cost a few cents. And so my personal estimate of the price per unit is shown on that slide there. And we think that we might get major endorsements, and thus we'll be able to sell the product to sovereign governments, PPPs, NGO founders. Often it's mentioned the Star Syringe Limited K products are a good example of that. And the Geneva hand hygiene model hasn't done so badly either. We have done some sums. I can't really take you through this in the time available. The bottom line is really the top line. That's the addressable market calculations for our target zone. And what it boils down to is that we think that we can show that after 3 years, with reasonable assumptions, an impact investor will be seeing a return on capital which would be of about the level that would satisfy him or her in terms of the normal frame of reference that such people have. Currently, we're funding up to phase 1. We're desperately looking for $2 million by competitive grants. But we are planning now in October to have a campaign in the Geneva philanthropic and impact investment community, where we have some internal advocates, and also in the Seattle impact investment community, where we have also internal advocates to try to get impact investment to finance work of this kind. And I can see the time's running out, so I would just say that this isn't the first such project that we've been involved in. And I could tell you more about that when the applause starts, which is now. Thank you for your attention.
That was perfect. Derek, you're already getting the mic, so here we go.
Way ahead of you, Derek.
You are way ahead of me.
So thank you for your presentation. I wasn't here yesterday, and can you just take a second and explain the products that you mentioned that are already in the market in the less developed world? What are their costs to deliver and their reach, and basically your plan to those two to displace them?
Misoprostol is a little cheaper than ours. I would say the cost per dose is probably about 30 US cents. It is, however, only tolerated where oxytocin is not available for technical reasons. Oxytocin is destroyed by tropical heat, and that's why there's a problem with it. And also it has to be injected, and injection-trained personnel aren't available everywhere. So when those two problems occur, you can use misoprostol, but it's been de-recommended in the sense of the word, in the sense that it's not, it has quite severe side effects, and also it's used to cure abortions, and there are countries that won't even let it into their territory. Carbetocin is being looked at. For technical reasons, it's never going to be the same in its properties as oxytocin. So if you can do it with oxytocin, why use a chemical analog, which carbetocin is?
Dr. Lemaire?
As a physician who does work in developing countries, I feel some moral distress asking the next question, but recognizing I'm on the jury for the business plan.
Of course.
The concept is very well put forth, but many of these developing nations don't even have any money at all, as was shown during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, where companies actually had to provide the drugs for free for many of the African countries. I think you've presented a beautiful business plan about how it could work, but I still have some skepticism about how developing countries will prioritize this cost given their very poor finances. So my question to you is, do you have some specific connections in some of the developing countries where you can enter the market and show that this is a reasonable way for them to spend their precious dollars?
Well, we do have specific connections in some developing countries, but in addition, we have specific connections with large-scale non-governmental organizations who now purchase medicines for distribution in developing countries. And the business model that I showed suggested a 5% penetration into the target market. And there are many medical products which are sold at that degree of penetration with very little of the money coming from the countries themselves, but from official development assistance and from charitable money of the kind that we saw.
Any other questions? Derek?
Sorry, would you mind going to your revenue slide again? Okay, so your projection for Mintaka would be, if I understand this correctly, would be somewhere around 2.8 million in year 3. Is that?
Well, those are the numbers which based on the assumptions that we won't make much penetration anywhere else but in the target zone. Maybe as a niche market, some people have suggested that, for example, in Canada, there would be a niche market. The patients like the idea, but the doctors are used to something that works here that can't work in the tropics. And they'll be rather conservative. But yes, 3 years after licensure, we could imagine getting in excess of $2 million US dollars per year.
And your cost of goods is about 60% then of the 50 cent per unit dose, is that correct?
Half and half, yes.
So you'd look at a margin of in around $1 million US dollars in year 3 is kind of the target.
Oh, I'm sorry. The target revenue is net, so the half a dollar's already been taken off.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks very much. It's always exciting to hear commercialization takes different paths. Some can have health gains, some can have social gains, and some can have a clear economic model. It's exciting to see things being combined. I'm going to introduce Dr. Alex Melasiadis from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, where he's also the head of School of Nursing and the director of the WHO Collaborating Center. Alex, please.
Hi, good morning everybody. I'm changing hat. Oh no, I don't have a hat. They didn't give me one. It's only Aurelia that got the amazing cowboy hat. Me and Didier were not given one. My flight came too early. His flight came too late and we missed that. But there you go. I'm going to show you a little bit what is the policy framework in terms of innovation and technology in Hong Kong. Because we do need individuals to be innovators and entrepreneurs and develop ideas, but often we forget that we need to have the appropriate framework behind to actually be able to develop that. And I'd like to start with this beautiful picture of Hong Kong downtown in front of the harbor. Just seeing that picture, you can get a sense of how innovative we are. We have no space. We are just under 1,000 square kilometers, and we have 7.5 million people who cannot expand. We go up, really. And hence, we organize some of the tallest buildings in the world. The one that you see there is, a few years ago, was fourth in the tallest building in the world. I keep losing track because every day we have new, bigger buildings, taller buildings. And over the last 3 years, it became seventh because China is building even more taller buildings. So what I'm going to show you is about Hong Kong government support to innovation and technology in general, and how we're promoting use of innovation and technology in healthcare. So the role of the government is in two areas that I'm going to concentrate in terms of hardware and software. The movement towards innovation in terms of policy started around 2000, and that was the first time we established in Hong Kong the Innovation and Technology Commission. And the mission of that commission was to spearhead Hong Kong's drive to become a world-class knowledge-based economy. And at the moment, it has about 230 staff that are working in different areas across the country and internationally to develop this idea. We have also 8 guangos, I'm going to show you in a minute. That has changed more recently, and we have a new policy from last year, and we actually moved up the commission to a government department. We have now the Innovation and Technology Bureau, and now the Innovation and Technology Commission will be under that. You can see the commission and the membership and what else we have. We have Science and Technology Park, the Hong Kong Productivity Council, the Applied Science and Technology Research Institute, and a number of other entities, including, and more recently, the Hong Kong Jockey Club Institute of Chinese Medicine. This is an area that the Hong Kong government wants to actually focus and commercialize, or rather develop into drugs a lot of the Chinese medicine that has proven efficacy into the market. There are 5 strategies that come under this bureau and the policies of the Hong Kong government. First of all, to provide world-class technology infrastructure for enterprises, research institutions, and universities. Also to offer financial support to stakeholders. We talked earlier on about how important money is. And the money goes to industry, to universities, and the research sector to develop and commercialize R&D results. It's also nurturing talent, strengthening science and technology collaboration internationally. More recently, in the last 15 years, since the handover of Hong Kong from the British to China, with mainland China, but also other economies. I'll show you some examples later on. And finally, fostering a vibrant culture of innovation. And I'm going to give you some examples from each one of them. So in terms of infrastructure, excuse me, we have the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. This is a 22-hectare space, and this is a big space for Hong Kong because we're lacking space. So we have actually put a lot of space for that, and there are some over 300 companies that are actually operating there. And now that has been built over the last 10 years into phases. We're now almost completing phase 3. Part of phase 3 has been provided, and the last bit still waited. We're hoping that by the end of 2016, all of this will be finished. The expenditure just for the phase 3 development is about 5 billion Hong Kong dollars. 1 in 8 is the translation to the US dollars. And that has created, just this phase, an additional 4,000 R&D related jobs within the park. Also, we have funding support. Funding support from, there is a specific fund which is called Innovation and Technology Fund. It has an annual grant round every year, and quite a lot of money is diverted to innovation and technology. There is an R&D center program across the country. Also, the government is working to liaise with key players, and there is a cash rebate scheme for the industry. I'll tell you about that in a second. So the first one that I mentioned is the funding support through the ITF, the Innovation and Technology Fund. That was launched in 1999 with an amount of about 5 billion Hong Kong dollars, about 640 million US dollars. And just to show you the last year figures of how much they spent in terms of grant support, it was $1.3 billion. There are 4 funding programs. The first one is the Innovation and Technology Support Program, which supports platform projects, 10% from the industry, 90% from the ITF. So they're trying to get the industry in. But in that platform projects, the industry does not own the IP. The government owns it. But if they go for the collaborative projects, which is 50-50% between industry and university or government, the industry will own the IP. There's a university industry collaboration program, the 50-50%. Again, the industry will own the IP for that. There's a general support program for non-R&D activities, contributing to fostering innovation technology culture. And there are project grants that people can apply for up to 90% of the total approved project cost. Then there is a small entrepreneur research assistant program. This is dollar-to-dollar matching basis and provides $4 million from the ITF, again, to do that and develop the research assistant programs. The ITF has spent, as of March 2016, $11 billion. That's something like 1.5 billion US dollars. Quite a lot of money. 27% has gone to ICT, 21% to electrical and electronics, 18% to manufacturing and technology, and 10% to biotechnology. There are other funding sources, but the ITF is the main one. There is the Applied Research Fund. There is a patent application grant where individuals or universities can actually apply for funding in order to go into the process of patenting. And as some of us know, this can take quite a lot of money and time and energy and infrastructure to go through. And there is a cash, I mentioned before, the cash rebate scheme. This is for the industry, and there's a 40% rebate as from the February 2016. It started from 10% and it's moving up to now being 40%. And just for the cash rebate, in terms of commercialization, $170 million have been approved. The R&D Center program focuses on 5 areas, and that hasn't changed since the 2006 that was first developed. And the R&D centers are about Nano and Advanced Material Institute, nanotechnology. It's about textiles and clothing, automotive parts and accessory systems, logistics and supply chain management, and ICT. So as of March 2016, this R&D Center program has approved just over 900 projects at the total cost of nearly 5 billion Hong Kong dollars. I'll skip that. And the last couple of slides, we have external collaboration. A lot of this is happening with China and trying to connect with the Chinese mainland. For example, we have in Hong Kong 16 partner state key laboratories from the Chinese National Engineering Research Center. The Guangdong Hong Kong Technology Cooperation Committee has been developed and has spent so far over $800 million in over 200 projects. Shenzhen Hong Kong Innovation Center has been developed to exchange and share talents and resources. And I mentioned the international cooperation. One example is the Hong Kong-Israel Research and Development Cooperation Program, which is strategically funded. We just set up last year an advisory committee on innovation and technology, which is chaired by the Secretary of State for Innovation and Technology. And finally, in terms of human capital, we have an internship program that so far has seen over 2,000 intern positions approved and funded from the government, and an Innovation Technology Scholarship Award scheme. The last slide is about fostering innovation and culture. We have an annual month of InnoTech with InnoCarnival, roadshows, exhibitions, competitions, industry conference, and seminars, just to highlight where we are with that. So all of these areas make Hong Kong a very innovative place, and Hong Kong currently is the 14th most innovative place according to the Global Innovation Index 2016, out of 128 countries. In the last few years has been in the top 10. So I'll leave you with that, and thank you so much for listening, and I'm welcoming you to the next Global Healthcare Innovation Day that we will be organizing in Hong Kong in 2 years' time, in August 2018. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Maybe we have time for a couple of questions, if you have time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see a question right there.
Alex, thanks very much for a great presentation. Is the ITF fund a competitive one, or what is the process?
It's very competitive. It's through external international peer review, and it works the same way that any other competitive funding body.
Okay. And a secondary question, again, you've reached out into Guangdong province, which I think is very important, but how do you connect the different parts of the innovation areas? Because one of the things they complain about in Canada and Alberta is we're so large and geographically disparate. Sometimes the left arm and the right arm don't know what they're doing, even in the same province, let alone same city.
Yeah, well, we're the same. But I think the idea is strategically to focus with the Guangdong region because it's our neighbors. Guangzhou, the city of 15 million people, is just 2 hours with the train. And Shenzhen is just across the border. In half an hour, you're there. So we're trying to actually work with key stakeholders in China that are present in the southern part, which is close to us. So geographically, it makes sense to team up with them.
Excellent. Thank you. Doc. All right. So I'll put my name in the hat to come to Hong Kong. It's fascinating to see sort of a small city example from Geneva all the way to Hong Kong. It's much, much bigger than Calgary. See the different examples with some commonalities. I think that the Connie sort of picked up on a number of different things that we could do even better here. So a fascinating conversation that hopefully we'll continue having with some results. It's time to introduce finalist number 3. And this will be the last presentation before we go for a little bit of a break. And we'll do some time adjustments as well too. So the third presenting team is oh, sorry. I thought my mic was on. Apologies. So the last presenting team is, or for this block, is going to be LifeVest, Helping Babies Breathe from Eastern Canada. The presenter will be Dr. Jennifer Beck and Dr. Doug Campbell. They're going to be presenting on the pediatric compression vest for enabling premature babies to obtain respiratory stimulation using negative pressure. That just made me sound so smart. But there you go.
So thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to speak this morning. We're pretty excited to be here. So my name is Dr. Doug Campbell. I'm a neonatal intensive care doctor. I run the NICU at St. Mike's Hospital in Toronto. I'm also the director of the Simulation Center at St. Mike's and an associate professor of pediatrics. I had the great fortune to meet Dr. Jennifer Beck about 1.5 years ago, and she's an internationally renowned scientist and expert in respiratory physiology. And together we were able to create really innovative new products to help babies breathe. So here's the problem. 15 million babies in the world are born early. Their lungs are early and they need breathing help. And they also need intensive care. Surprisingly, about 15 million full-term babies also have unexpected needs for breathing help. So these babies require separation from their mothers. And to give them breathing help, current state-of-the-art technology is to apply tubes down their throat, tight-fitting masks to their faces, to their nose in particular, and to push air into their lungs. This is not a great state-of-the-art technology in our opinion, and the separation from the mother interferes with breastfeeding, interferes with bonding, and has long-lasting impacts. So we've come together and we need something gentler and better, and we have it.
So our solution is the LifeVest. Can you hear me okay? And rather than having tubes in the airway or in the nose, the baby wears a vest around the torso, and it's sealed at the level of the armpits and at the belly button. And by applying negative pressure inside this vest, so it's like a vacuum, it gently pulls on the chest and the abdomen of the baby, and it draws air into the lungs. That helps the baby to breathe. Now, the unique aspect of this technology, which is patented and licensed, is that we measure the baby's breathing signals with tiny sensors on the already placed feeding tube, and we use those signals to synchronize the LifeVest to the baby's breathing. Next. Our past successes include the development of something called neurally controlled mechanical ventilation and standardizing a method to measure the patient's breathing signals, which is now FDA approved. This technology is now used in over 60 countries, is patented, and has been used successfully in infants. And over the years, we've established and secured a relationship with Meké Critical Care, which is a leading corporation in the ventilator market. Our competition includes, mainly for adults, the modern-day iron lung and something called a biphasic cuirass, which is mainly for pediatric patients and is also used in the home, as well as tracheal and nasal interfaces that are routinely used in neonates. That's the gold standard, is to use the tracheal or the nasal interfaces. Despite both provide negative pressure ventilation, both the iron lung and the biphasic cuirass are not intended for preterm infants, and both are not synchronized. That's the key. Our technology is synchronized to the patient's breathing. If there were a neonatal size, the interface, which is bulky, would interfere with bonding and breastfeeding. Interference with bonding and breastfeeding is also a problem for the tracheal and nasal interfaces, but they also have the added serious problem of physical damage to the nose. The LifeVest, on the other hand, has the advantage of overcoming all these challenges and can provide synchronous negative pressure ventilation to the smallest babies with an interface that avoids damage and allows bonding and breastfeeding.
So what's our revenue model? Well, really have two arms. There's the capital equipment sales, which would be a ventilator, and the traditional warranty and service, and then the disposables. And in our case, this would be the specialized feeding tube that measures the breathing signals for synchronicity, and then the vest itself. And so this is a well-known and a well-accepted model of revenue. So healthcare institutions, healthcare facilities use this all the time. And so this is a great model because we actually anticipate for us that our disposables, namely the vest itself and the feeding tube, would be cheaper than the current disposables that are available in market. I have to stress again that the potential cost savings would go to the healthcare institutions and their funders, which would be governments or private, that there's clinical benefits. So reduced length of stay, increased breastfeeding has those measurable cost benefits as well. So our team is unique in that brings together clinical practice and basic research. As director of the neonatal intensive care unit, I have access to the patients and clinical and research experience. Dr. Beck has already brought ventilator technology to the market, as well as patenting methods for neurally controlled ventilation. But ultimately, this is what we're about. Thank you.
Dr. Conley?
So just a question to ask. Have you looked at, I have some alternate background in health economics, so have you sat down and even a quick assessment from a modeling of what is the production costs of this, and then applied that in terms of a ramp up, and then looked at the cost savings either in a quick and dirty model or even a formal cost effectiveness model to see what the qualities might be or some other measure of the impact of what you're doing in terms of the capital costs and then the benefits that would accrue in terms of its effectiveness?
Well, I guess I could start. So, I mean, we're still in the prototype design phase. But right now, when we look at the costs, so for example, the cost of disposables that these interfaces that are currently available are around $200, $250 per patient per day. So that's the current estimates of these disposables. And ours would come in approximately 20% cheaper than that. So that would be a competitive advantage for the healthcare institutions currently. Also, the ventilator cost would also be likely cheaper than the current $15,000 estimates for most CPAP machines that are available. So in both fields, we would expect cost savings for the institutions. I don't know if Jennifer, you wanted to comment more on that.
Well, the breathing signal, the catheter that we use to pick up the breathing signal is already commercially available, and that sells between $100 and $200 per catheter, and that's for a 5-day use. So it's $40 a day, basically, for that. Right now, we're trying to figure out the best way to do the negative pressure ventilation so that we don't have to use the air supply. So we've looked at Venturi pumps, we've looked at turbines, we've looked at blowers, actuators, et cetera, and those are very, very cheap to buy off shelf. So we're trying to also, as we're developing not only the vest, but the pressure controller to minimize the cost there. But to be honest, we haven't done that huge analysis on numbers of patients and what this would cost and the savings, yeah.
Have you sought marketing advice in terms of projecting into the future? And then a secondary question, what would you do with the proceeds if you were the winners of the grand prize today.
So remind me of the first question again, please.
Marketing.
Yeah,
Right,
have
so-
you sought marketing expertise to be
Okay.
able to put some of these figures in to do some projections? Because
Right.
this has huge potential. I can recognize
Yeah.
it. I love pediatrics, but
Yeah.
I did adult medicine instead. But
Well, we have, so this technology has been actually assigned to St. Michael's Hospital and licensed to a leading ventilator company that has taken our previous technology and marketed it since 2007. So they have a right to first refusal for this technology. So that's the one thing. So my support for marketing is basically that company and has been for 10 years now. However, we do have support from Mars Innovation, which is a institution that helps bringing bench to bedside technologies in Toronto. So we have their support as well as St. Michael's Hospital. And the second question was? Oh, if we win. Well, Dr. Campbell and I won the Angel's Den competition last year at St. Michael's Hospital, and we hired a biomed student using that money, and we did a study to measure width and circumference of all the different weights of the babies in the unit. So we hired a research nurse for that, and my 3D printing expert who's helping me with the design of the vest would be able to continue working for us. I don't know if you want to comment more.
So more of that, essentially. Just to note, so even if we could save one day in the neonatal intensive care unit out of an average day of 14 days, let's say, that would be about 2,000 Canadian dollars a day. In the US, it's about $4,000. So the cost savings would be there. But you're right, as we move forward for clinical trials in this fall, we'll have a better idea of those medical benefits and be able to then project more accurately. So right now they're rounding figures, but there's likely savings in all domains, capital, disposable, and then the clinical benefits to the healthcare institutions. Awesome. Oh, there's one there.
Can you actually just flip back? You had a slide there just on all of the Health Canada approvals and your relationship with Kating.
The past successes?
And so that's past successes. Okay.
Yes.
So this particular product, there's a right of first refusal, and so you're taking. I guess I'm trying to understand a little bit in terms of, the past successes and some of the revenue that you've generated from that. Is that being then used in terms of, let's call it royalty revenue or whatever it is, to then fund this particular project as well?
The royalty revenue from our past technologies is directly to myself and my R&D company or my holding company. So, yes. Can I not answer that?
Sorry.
Thank you very much for that presentation. This was the last presentation for the first sort of competition block. We're going to move into the second competition block at exactly 10:30. So please, 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 please make sure you get your bio break. Come back here right at 10:30 and vote for the People's Choice Award while you're out there. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Okay.
That's the opportunity in these type of events is all of a sudden it's like, you connect with people. I just ran into somebody that had not completely different contacts. And I was like, what are you doing here? And then we found a background that we didn't even realize that we shared. We had one relationship. We didn't realize we had all these other relationships. So it's always a good thing. Some of my former students are here, which is interesting, for either executive programs or for MBA programs. And so that's also nice to see their interest in the healthcare innovation space.
They see opportunity, they sense opportunity.
And I mean, many of them are, they've been dabbling, but they haven't kind of jumped right in, and now there's an opportunity to jump in.
I was looking at your bio. I'm tremendously interested in sitting down with you and talking about the direct sales thing. I have my biases, very, very bad biases, and I'm looking for some help on how to navigate some touchy territory with TEDx Calgary, where we have people trying to commercialize, have commercial activity within the cities that we're trying to create, just not designed for that. So how to get advice on that.
I'd be happy to reach out, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. This is amazing. Let's get
So
the second
we
one.
need to get the show on the road. All right, I'll see you.
Everything's loaded up.
Yeah. Medical education.
They're all like all the ones in the back. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
sit right
right.
here. You can sit right
Just a reminder for everyone to coming in. Please move to the middle of the auditorium if you can. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. If you can, please, that would be help us out a great deal because the ends are getting crowded. So. Thank you.
Dave, can you laugh? Thank you. Oh, can you mute lav 1, please?
So as everybody's getting seated, I'll just kind of talk about some of the cool exhibits that are out there. Any highlights in the audience in terms of exhibits that you've visited, which just kind of blew your mind? Every time I go up there, it's like amazing stuff that's happening. Yes? The robot, yes. The thing that keeps on talking. You feel like giving it a hug? Okay, you did. Okay. One hug for robot.
This is the winner of the previous competition at Geneva. He has expanded tremendously over the past couple of years since that event. So this is great to see a product which was just an idea and just moving on a little bit actually moved so fast over the past couple of years because of the event at Geneva, or partly because of the event. Yeah.
I imagine sort of robotics influenced by artificial intelligence increasingly more so, and what potential that would be. What an interesting sort of pivot. So let's move on to our second block of competition here. We're going to have presenters as well as interstitials again as well too, explaining some of the innovative sort of activity and ecosystems that exist in these different communities. And I've been learning so much about what the causal architecture, what makes an innovative environment is. So I'm really looking forward to the presentations that are coming up. It's time to introduce finalist number 4. So finalist number 4 is Amal Therapeutics from Switzerland. And the presenter is Jean-Francois Maillot. Yes, okay. And he's going to be presenting on the new generation of cancer immunotherapy products targeting cancer cells. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, as you remember from yesterday, Amal Therapeutics is developing a new generation of cancer immunotherapy. And immunotherapy is a very large family for the treatment of cancer and is only a part of the treatment of cancer. And inside the immunotherapies, you have several kinds of treatments like active immunotherapy, immunomodulators, oncolytic viruses, passive immunotherapy. And we are more focusing on the therapeutic vaccine which is in difference with the prophylactic one, the treatment of patients that already developed a tumor. So it's not to avoid the development of the tumor, but it's for cure the cancer. So as I presented yesterday, several strategies were developed, and all these different strategies failed in the phase 3 of the clinical trials because of the low efficacy of the adjuvant and because only one or a low number of antigen were used in this vaccine strategy. So the AMA's unique technology platform is the Kissima platform. It's based on a big protein with 3 different parts. The first one is the cell-penetrating peptide for the antigen delivery. The second part is the TLR agonist. It's a molecule which is very important for the activation of the sentinels of the immune system, which are the dendritic cells. And the third part is the multi-antigenic domain, MAD, which contains several antigens, meaning that in this vaccine we could create an immune reaction against several proteins. And because the tumor is something heterogeneous, we can target all the cells within the same tumor. So the difference with the other strategies is very important because in our strategy we have a self-adjuvanted molecule. We have an immune response for the CD8 and the CD4 positive population, which is very important for the long-term response of the immune response. We have something which is multi-antigenic, multi-allelic, and we have also a good memory immunity developed using this strategy. So we have a clear IP position regarding our therapeutic strategy. All the parts of the Kissima platform are protected. The CPP is patented. The TLR agonist is patented. The whole Kissima molecule is patented. The combination of the Kissima with other treatment is also patented. And the final product, meaning the lead that will be used in the colorectal cancer treatment, is also protected. So this program is not restricted to the colorectal cancer. We imagine to work on several other indications like lung cancer, colorectal cancer, glioblastoma, breast cancer, etc., because we identify several antigens that are in common with the colorectal cancer antigen, so meaning that it will be very easy for us to develop vaccine strategy against these different kind of cancers. So here is our program. We have made the proof of concept of our first molecule in the clinical, the colorectal cancer indication. Now we are preparing the preclinical phase, and we are looking forward to clinical studies to begin at the beginning of 2018. So we have also started the second program for the glioblastoma indication and also for other strategies, for example, with the use of the combination with immune checkpoint inhibitors. So the company is a spin-off of the University of Geneva. It's a fully operational company with 10 people, including 6 PhD. So we were financed in the Series A by several investors for 3 million Swiss francs and with additional 2 million Swiss francs from different grants. So we are a team composed of immunology specialists, and in the board we have also some specialists of biotech. So Madia Derazi is the CEO and the founder of the company, and she is helping the global strategy by Johanna and Knut, which are high specialists in terms of biotech and big pharma companies development. So here it's our roadmap. As I said before, we raised a series of 3 million. And we're now seeking for a 2 million investment for a Series B for the development of the clinical phase of our molecule, and a second wave of 11 million Swiss francs. So we have a good rationale for investment because it's a first in class. So thank you very much. So I hope I've convinced you that it's great interest in order to cure cancer.
Dr. Olich?
Thank you for your presentation. I'd like to ask you to speak explicitly to how your team, if you were to win today, would use the proceeds.
So I think that this money will be used in order to hire someone for the specific development of a program for project management. So meaning that we will hire someone with this money.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
I'm up here. Thank you very much for your presentation. Certainly any prospect of advancing a cure for cancer is always incredibly exciting. I once experienced a presentation from someone who had done drug development and understand the costs are enormously high to actually get it to market and actually implement it. Could you tell me where on that, I know you've described the stages that you're at so far, but where on the continuum of getting a drug to market in terms of funding are you, and how much do you think it'll cost to get you actually to market?
So, in order to go to market, it's a huge, very, very huge amount of money. And for small companies like ours, it's impossible to go directly through the market. So meaning that the exit strategy have to be think since the inception of the company, because in this case, our scenario is to sell the molecule after the phase 2 of the clinical trial. Because the phase 3 is very, very, very expensive, and it's quite impossible for a little biotech to finance the phase 3 trials. So meaning that the exit is to sell the strategy or to sell the company just after the phase 2.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Olich.
Thank you. Could you please comment on the competitive landscape that you see out there?
This one. So in order to comment that, maybe it's important to comment this one with this one also, because this is an example of different clinical trials that were conducted with a vaccine strategy, and all these trials have done a phase 3, which is the most expensive one. And all these trials failed during the phase 3 because of the strategy of vaccination. What is important in the vaccination in order to cure cancer, there is several things. The first one is that when you develop a cancer, it's not an infectious disease. It's a part of you that creates a tumor. And your immune system is not made for fighting against your cells. And that's why we have to break a specific part, which is the break of tolerance. And this is something important in our strategy, is to break this tolerance. And it's go through the activation of these two populations, which are the CD4 and the CD8 positive cells. What is also very important in this case is that we have a multi-antigenic vaccine strategy, meaning that, as I said before, a tumor is something heterogeneous, and there is different models describing kind of stem cells inside the tumor and mature cells outside the tumor. And because we have a strategy based on several antigens, we could target all these kinds of cells, all the different stage of differentiation of the tumor in order to prevent the remission of the tumor later. And this remission is also prevented by a higher memory immunity with our strategy. Does that answer your question?
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean-Francois. There's an interesting trend here. I was in Paul Natlin's conversation or workshop the other day, and he talked about how they developed an air conditioner for GE in 27 days with a company called Quirky. And that's incredibly fast. I think he said GE's fastest time to product development was 300 days at the time. And everyone says, healthcare is so slow. I'm never critical of that. And people say, why don't you care that healthcare is so slow? And I say, it took me 6 years to finish an undergraduate degree, 2 years of house hunting to buy a house, and 7 years of dating my girlfriend before I proposed. So I spent a lot of time saying good things take time, just be patient, be persistent, and it'll all come together. So that's what healthcare will do. So with that, I'd like to introduce Samar back to the stage, Director of Strategic Projects for the Vice President's Research Office from St. Mike's. Really excited to hear what you guys are doing over there, and please join me in welcoming Samar.
Thanks very much. It's really wonderful to be here as sort of the newest member of the, do you guys call it GIA or GHIA? I've been calling it GH. Is it GIA? Okay. So we actually joined, I think, last year and just made it in time for this event. So we're very excited. And I'm here to give you a little bit of background on St. Mike's, and specifically a brief background on the hospital, just for those who don't know, and then get into some of our research, innovation, and entrepreneurship initiatives. So St. Mike's is a hospital located in downtown Toronto. We're fully affiliated with the University of Toronto. We're one of 9 academic hospitals that are affiliated. And we are downtown Toronto's adult trauma center, and a center where we see a lot of complex critical care and complex illnesses. Our catchment area is quite diverse. We include socially and economically diverse communities. One thing to point out is that we do have the largest concentration of homeless people in the city, and so over time our research priorities have tended to take that population into account, and we actually have a research focus specifically focusing at disadvantaged populations, as well as other priorities that are very much aligned with a hospital that deals with a lot of trauma and complex critical care, which you'll see some of our priorities in the next slides. So our home is the Li Ka-shing Knowledge Institute. This was a building that we fundraised for and raised a lot of money and finally moved into 5 years ago. It's attached to our hospital via a very beautiful bridge, which makes it quite comfortable in the winter to go back and forth. And this is where the majority of our research is housed. So we do research all the way from homelessness and housing to global health to a ton of clinical research in various areas. We have, I think, the most number of clinician scientists out of all of the academic hospitals that are affiliated with the University of Toronto. We do drug policy research and other types of health services research. We have a strong evaluation center that does evaluation of large-scale programs, both within Canada but also internationally. And we have a knowledge translation program, which I think we actually stole one of your professors from University of Calgary, Dr. Sharon Strauss, who used to be here, and we love her. She's been with us for a few years now and has grown the program significantly. So those are sort of what we call our typical dry bench, non-lab-based priorities. And then we get into quite a large group of basic scientists who do translational research at the bench. Basically a variety of themes, including neurosciences, critical injury and illness, which is sort of our largest group, cardiovascular disease, excuse me, diabetes, hematology, immunology, and our emerging area in fibrosis. And so we've got about 60 or so scientists that fall within this particular group. Out of the total 200 that we have who have independent research programs at St. Mike's. And most of the, I guess, commercializable research that we see that come to my office, I oversee the intellectual property management office. Most of it comes from sort of our laboratory-based groups. We are starting to see more from clinical areas as well, clinical research areas as well. I wanted to just point out one collaboration that we entered into a couple of years ago with Ryerson University. So Ryerson is geographically located very close to St. Mike's. St. Mike's is actually the furthest hospital, actually not the furthest, but it's quite far away from the downtown University of Toronto campus. And while there's a lot of back and forth activity, geographic proximity just does, it is important for collaboration. And so we've been talking to Ryerson about establishing, some sort of an institute where we bring their engineers, they have a strong engineering program, together with our clinical environment and our clinician scientists and sort of look at what can happen. And they don't have a medical school, so having access to clinicians and to patients is really important for them to test and pilot some of their innovations and technologies. And so we established iBest, which is the Institute for Biomedical Engineering, Science, and Technology. It's physically it's about a year old, but virtually it's about 2 years old. And we have a bunch of themes and a bunch of faculty, both from St. Mike's and from Ryerson, that form these themes. And you can see them listed there, and I'm not going to read them, but really mainly to say that we've actually co-located some of Ryerson's engineers at St. Mike's. They live on the same lab floor as a lot of our scientists, and we're starting to see a lot of collaboration, collaborative grants going in together, co-supervision of students, and we really see this as a great opportunity for future spin-offs and startups and that sort of thing. The other thing that we're doing with Ryerson is the Biomedical Zone, which is essentially it's an incubator, and it is located again at St. Michael's Hospital. And the founding director is Dr. Linda Maxwell. She was recruited to lead up and kind of build up the zone about a year ago, and she's done quite a bit since she's been with us. She herself is a surgeon, and so she does practice. She's in the clinic 1 day a week. And she has a huge interest in entrepreneurship and company growth and creation. And so really what the zone does is it brings together engineering, medicine, and entrepreneurship in one area. We do have a unique situation in which this is a hospital-based incubator. Most incubators are not hospital-based. And so there is an opportunity for companies to try and collaborate when they need to validate something in a hospital setting, whether it's trying to work with clinicians and write a protocol and do trials, which takes a lot more time, or if it's something much simpler that sort of with our hospital administrators they can look to collaborations. The zone currently houses 13 companies, 13 startups. It's a mixed bag of youth entrepreneurs, sort of older entrepreneurs, and they don't have to be from St. Mike's or Ryerson, although we do give preference. It is a competitive application process. They have to apply. They get in. They get access to both space as well as specialized facilities like microfabrication, 3D printing, as well as resources. So they get time with a lot of the advisors that have made themselves available to the zone. If people have intellectual property questions, if they have questions about investment, how to go out and get investments, they need help with their pitches, that sort of thing is all available to them. We also have a great trainee program, so we bring in a lot of interns to kind of get a feel for what it's like to work in an incubator and work with startups. As well as we just started a co-development lab where we pair Ryerson students with our clinicians. So our clinicians basically identify a problem and they say, I need an engineer, I need a computer scientist or someone to come and help me try and solve this, and they bring their expertise, and that's been going well. This is what brought us here, the Translational Innovation Fund. It was supported very generously by our foundation, and really to promote cross-disciplinary collaboration between teams. And so the 3 teams that you saw present here are winners of the TIFF. Basically we do a big competition, we narrow it down to 10, and then they have to compete in what we call an Angel's Den. And the Angel's Den is really essentially a 3-minute pitch to donors, so it has to be in an easy enough language that the donors will understand. And the winners get additional cash prizes, and then they get sent to, I said it right. We've had an increase in entrepreneurship overall within our sort of the environment we live. So Ryerson, St. Mike's, U of T, and all of our collaborators. At St. Mike's specifically, we've implemented a couple of years ago a more attractive intellectual property policy. Ours was very outdated and not very good. So it basically gives inventors a bit more incentive to work with us on commercializing their inventions. We've increased some resources. We've brought on staff. We've created collaborations with groups like Mars Innovation, which I'll tell you about. And we try and support our spin-off companies as much as we can. Space is a huge commodity in downtown Toronto, so we can't always house every single startup that wants to have kind of rent-free space for their first year, but we do try and do it as much as we can just to get them off the ground. And then the Campus Linked Accelerator Program is a program that was launched by the provincial government in Ontario to basically allow universities to support entrepreneurship. And so we actually ended up getting some funding both at U of T and at Ryerson to set up some incubators, and the biomedical zone is actually partially funded by that. I'll just quickly tell you about Mars Innovation. It's a centralized technology transfer support. We're a member institution, so are all the other hospitals. And we really rely on them when we have an intellectual property. They have a great group of experts that do all kinds of things like evaluating technologies, managing IP, helping us spin out companies. They even have money to actually invest in promising technologies. We've gotten grants from them before. And so I see that my time is up, so I just want to give you one example of a spin-off company that came out of St. Mike's, Blue Dot. Blue Dot was started by an infectious disease specialist, Dr. Cameron Kahn, who, again, he's a clinician, he sees patients, he has a research program, and now he has a very successful 40-plus employee startup company. And basically what Blue Dot does is it's created a technology that tracks, or it's like a surveillance system for how infectious diseases spread across the globe. And they use this by getting proprietary data. Some of it's from the airline industry and from other sources. And they do the analysis of sort of flight patterns and are able to then feed that information to decision makers. So they work very closely with clients like the Centers for Disease Control, for the WHO, European, I think, Center for Prevention, and I can't remember the acronym. But they work with basically public health type agencies. And I just wanted to point out at the bottom, you see that little pink jewel button. And so for those clinicians in the audience, or if you know of any clinicians who are part of the Canadian Medical Association, there's this new grant opportunity called the Jewel Innovation Grant for any doctor, any physician that is part of the CMA. They're able to actually apply if they have an idea that's for an innovation. They're able to apply and get, I think it's like $50,000 for the first prize and $25,000 for another couple of prizes. And it's a great way to sort of, I guess CMA wanted to promote innovation within their community. And so Dr. Cameron Kahn won that, and we just found out a couple of days ago, and another one of our zone companies actually won. So we had 2 out of the 5 across Canada from our institution, which was really exciting. So I'm not going to go into the rest of my slides because I'm out of time, and we need to keep on track. But I will thank you for your attention.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Congratulations for having impressive infrastructure and amazing people around you and bringing multidisciplinary people under one roof. My question is around incubation, and as you mentioned that the space is prime in downtown Toronto. What kind of pressure you put on your companies to graduate when they are in your incubator, and what is a standard timeline?
Yes, so we because our zone is biomedical technology focused, we actually the zone learning is a system that's been around Ryerson for a few years, and their regular internship rotations are 4 months. We felt that 4 months wasn't really enough for a biomedical innovation, and so we've actually extended that to a double term of 8 months. And at the 4-month period, the company gets evaluated against a set of criteria that the zone management system have established. And if they're actually making progress and kind of setting to meeting their goals and targets, they get to then stay for their additional 4 months. And usually, I mean, this is a very new incubator, so we actually haven't gotten to the point where we've gotten to the 8 months and the companies have wanted to stay. So there are potentially going to be cases where they're going to want to stay, and we'll have to look at those on a case-by-case basis. But the idea isn't that we're housing them forever. We're just giving them the resources so that they can kind of take off
Thank you for your presentation. You had mentioned that you create incentives for inventors to disclose IP to you. Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, the incentive really was in just how much the institution takes off the top of, if any royalties are given. So our IP policy used to, if the inventor actually assigned their rights to the hospital, they would only get 25% of royalties, which was very unattractive, and it's not really the norm right now. And so we actually change it so that it's more inclined with a 50-50 model. So, if we commercialize for you, we, kind of pay for the patents and go after partners and et cetera. Whatever we make, you get 50%. In the case where we assign the IP to the inventors, it's actually even more attractive. They get 75% of the royalties and we get 25%. In the case of startups, there's always a negotiation. So it's case by case.
So who initially owns the IP? Just to follow
The
up on that.
institution owns the IP.
Okay, thank you.
Very cool. All right. Thank you. Interesting patterns on how to create an innovative ecosystem. It's time to introduce our competitor here, finalist number 5, the Respimeter, a company from Western Canada, with the presenter as Dr. Israel Amirov, who's going to be presenting on a thermometer-style device that is used in diagnosing pneumonia in children in the developing world, but now it's being applied to the developed world. Welcome.
Good morning. Our company, Respidex, has developed the next generation smart thermometer for children that enables measurement of all major vital signs relevant for children at the mouth in one simple measurement. The main need that this device and its associated application addresses is the 64,000 question of whether the child needs to see a doctor. The kid looks sick. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, so maybe we should take him straight to the ER. Or maybe we shouldn't. US statistics show that 96% of the kids being brought to the ER were treated and released back home. A very large proportion of these expensive visits are unnecessary and could have been avoided by using our device and application. Conversely, however, maybe you are thinking of not taking him to the ER. Is that correct? So just how sick is the child? And how can the parent know this before leaving home? So that's where Respidex come in. This need and the requirement for a simple and solution to address it was identified by our team. We are a group of serial entrepreneurs with a number of exits behind us in the medical device field. The core team in our group worked together establishing and running, for example, SteadyMade, which recently went public of NASDAQ and other innovations. Using grant fundings, we've already developed and field tested the Respidex technology in the third world. And now we plan to commercialize it as a telemedicine or e-health product. Mobile health technology is going to revolutionize healthcare, bringing sophisticated monitoring into the home and enabling access to remote physician. This is creating a multi-billion-dollar market for novel devices and novel services. Respidex plans to supply the products and services to address this market in collaboration with telemedicine services suppliers such as American Well in the US, which we've already started negotiation with, and together also with local partners in China and ASEAN markets. Unlike novel home diagnostic products, which are currently entering the market like those of MedWent and TytoCare, which are around $250 each one, our product, which is $10 to $15, is completely intuitive to use as it's shaped like a familiar home thermometer and required no special handling of the part of the parent. It's just a measurement like this. 30 seconds and that's it. Our product position is also different. Instead of trying to have the parent perform the diagnosis or assist in diagnosis like other products, the Respidex approach is simply to determine whether or not a physician is needed. Given that we are simply measuring and graphing that vital sign in our application, the integration of this data into a third-party telemedicine system is straightforward and intuitive. A teleconference invoked via our application is inherently more effective and informative, as the physician does not just see the child and parent and ask questions. Using our technology, the remote physicians see the child's vital signs together with a trend and baseline, and this enables him to make a more informed determination of the child condition. This provides considerable added value to the telemedicine company and constitutes a relative advantage in the market. That added value will be reflected in the slice of consulting revenue, which is paid to Respidex for enabling the remote consultation transaction. This transaction can either take place on an ad hoc basis with the Respidex server determining which services we will use, or Respidex can close inclusive deal for specific geographies. Our management team has experience in taking novel medical device concept all the way from concept to market. In addition to our managerial and technical personnel, our marketing director, Amir El-Hassid, has experience in market penetration strategy and brand management, resulting from his background as the global marketing director of Teva Respiratory. To sum up, our team is well positioned to take the scientific breakthrough represented by the multimometer and its application and build them into a major telemedicine business. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Aurelia, sorry.
I have a question because yesterday when you presented, I had the feeling that the product was, it was a different kind of business model. Aiming at for pneumonia for developing countries, and it's a little bit like you've presented today something different. So, what is exactly your business model, actually?
Well, we do have two business models. One will be for the third world, but I think from a revenue perspective, the business model for the first world is much bigger. And that's the reason we decide to focus from a business perspective on the first world market.
Hi, I had a question about, I had two questions actually. The first is simple. Are there any competitors who have developed similar products out there, if you could mention?
Yeah, so I've mentioned in one of the slides that two major companies who are entering is MedWet and TytoCare. And these are big North American company. They sell a device. Actually, I will show you to you. How do I go back?
Go with the red.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so the two top devices are sold for about $250 each, and they require the parents to do the examination. So they sit again. They sit with the telemedicine service in front of the monitor, and the doctors ask them, "Okay, put the device in the ear of your child. Put the device in the mouth of the child, etc." With our device, we don't need to do any examination. It's an intuitive, very simple, straightforward. Put it in the nose, just wait it for 30 seconds, and you get oxygen saturation, temperature, respiratory rate, and heart rate.
Thanks. And the second part of my question is, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned that your company is going to manufacture and sell the device. Is that?
Well, this is one option of the business market, but I don't think we will manufacture it. We will join other companies, or within depending on the deals that we do with the telemedicine big companies.
Jim?
Thank you for your presentation. Does it work if you have a mustache?
Great question. No, and it's mainly for children.
Yeah, that's my primary question. So what's the motivation of making it specifically for children?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So you're right. We are also planning to do it for adults for the second version. The motivation came from the third world because we started with pneumonia in children, first world mortality. This was our main incentive and moral commitment that we want to address this problem. You're right. We will do it also for adults, not with mustache, but cardiology, geriatric, asthma, COPD. Absolutely, it's very simple for adult also to use it. Absolutely.
Gail?
Yes. Hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. You know, any avoidance of taking children to the emergency department is, I'm sure, is going to be highly appreciated by many. But I'm wondering if you have you done any studies that estimate the cost savings per year per you know, hospital in terms of the cost to the hospital having all these children arrive at the emergency department unnecessarily, and the time it takes up from physician time and so on.
Absolutely. There are US statistics, as I show you, that 96% of visit of ER, and there are about like 50 million visits a year in the US, are unnecessary. Now, if you multiply it by $2,000 per visit, and not talking about rural Northwestern or Fort McMurray that needs to fly in Edmonton, where I work, and take the time and the resources to bring them, and the time of work, or in the middle of, where there's, in the remote areas where there are no emergency room, very easy. So the saving is enormous.
Thank you very much, but I'm sorry, I'm more and more confused with your model, because actually you are telling us that the device will replace any consultation to an emergency room, which is totally wrong. If I take a very clinical example of a children with meningococcemia, it could be hypothermia, hypotension, and I mean, you could be reassuring. So I think what you need really to tell us is what is your model? So who are you going to sell the product? How much would you sell the product? Would be all
Think
family?
about the glucometer.
But the glucometer no, I'm sorry, it's a different story. Here you are trying to solve emergency situations. And you started with a model of pneumonia in children. Right. And now we are going into the whole medicine replaced by
No,
the
it's
device.
not replacement. It's just adding.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I cannot.
That's a lunchtime conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, unfortunately.
Thank you, Israel. So my boss just texted and said, stop fooling around up there. So with that, I'd like to introduce the director of the W2NC, Jill DeGrood. And our medical director, John Conley.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jill and I are going to co-present over the next few minutes and discuss some of the healthcare innovation within the Canadian framework, which I'm going to do, and then Jill will discuss from a provincial and a local perspective. So this first slide, I'm going to spend a little bit of time just to talk to you about the Canadian Innovation Agenda and how it's evolved since 2007. Canadians are great at doing reports, and there's some really excellent work in here. But I must confess my own personal bias is that sometimes we fall short on the implementation side. So in 2007, there was a new framework to modernize science and technology. The major focus in 2007 was really to increase private sector investment. And some of you from a Canadian perspective will recognize the Jenkins panel and the Jenkins report from 2011. That was a call to action from Innovation Canada to look at creating greater industrial research and innovation, to create an advisory council, which has done some great work, and I'll touch on that later. Improve government procurement. I'm still not certain we do great on the procurement side. Another story, a very long lecture. Tax credits on labor for small and medium-sized enterprises, and then also increasing university business sector collaboration, and I think we're starting to gain on that one. This led in 2014 to the State of the Nation report by the Science, Technology and Innovation Council, of which our president of our university is a member, Dr. Elizabeth Cannon. And the key findings were that Canada is starting to fall behind in its business research and development. It's, those of you who are familiar with BIRD, the business enterprise expenditures on research and development, we have gained somewhat compared to other G20 countries with respect to higher education research and development expenditures. But there are some other things in terms of our slowing gross domestic expenditures on research and technology. And there were a number of recommendations that came out about through this recommendation. And There was another report in 2015 that looked at unleashing innovation. And that unleashing innovation, this is a State of Nation report, and I'll come to the other unleashing innovation in a moment. The federal science and technology priorities are now environment and agriculture, health and life sciences, of which healthy aging is a big one, along with biomedical technology. And this unleashing innovation, and we were very fortunate to actually have Dr. Francine Girard as one of our scientific judges yesterday, who lent her expertise. She was very gracious, so thank you again, Francine, as the deputy chair of this. And this is to look at promoting innovation and the quality of care and sustainability in healthcare, patient engagement, better team-based delivery of care, health system integration, technological transformation via digital health. That's some of the things that we're talking about today, and better value from procurement, reimbursement, and regulation, as well as industry and economic drivers. And this is the framework of what they were looking at, of how to begin your innovation journey from the health perspective. I thought a very nice diagram that takes you around full circle. And then Canada's innovation agenda. We did have a representative here yesterday, so those of you who were being observed by a representative from Innovation Science and Economic Development Ministry, there was a tri-ministry announcement, a major announcement between that ministry, science, and also small business in mid-June, 3 ministers, and they've set about a new launch of the innovation agenda. We expect to hear much more in the future. They're looking to make Canada a global innovation leader, and they've started a website, so any of you with a great idea, please submit it onto this website here. You can see that. And they're focusing on science excellence, growing companies, and also accommodating clean growth, ease of doing business, and entrepreneurship and creative society. And we look forward to a number of new initiatives as they move forward in this domain in the coming months to next year. And with that, I'll shift over for Jill for the last 5 or 6 minutes to tell you about the provincial and local scene.
Thanks, John. So I do just want to talk briefly before I go into details on W21C. We're highlighting W21C because we designed the schedule. But we also have really strong partners around the province, like Tech Edmonton's here today, Innovate Calgary's here today, the Hunter Centre is here today, groups like Alberta Innovates and Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. And there's a lot of activity happening in the province really around supporting innovation. And we currently have a government that is investing in innovation in the province. So it's an exciting time, I think, for Alberta. Speaking of W21C specifically, you've heard a lot about us in the last few days, how great people think we are. I'll tell you a bit why. So we really started around 12 years ago to make healthcare better. And we want to look at areas to improve patient safety and quality of care by targeting areas of gaps or areas that could benefit from innovation in the health system. We are a program within the O'Brien Institute for Public Health, and we work really in a strong partnership with Alberta Health Services. And that comes because of our history. So the actual ward of the 21st century is a fully functional medical teaching unit here in Calgary at the Foothills Hospital. And we really use this as our living laboratory. This space was designed just over 12 years ago to serve as the ward of the 21st century, incorporating best practices in hospital design, incorporating a culture of innovation, and really trying to look at how we can create a space where people can bring new ideas, new innovations, and new technologies and test them in this living laboratory. In 2009, we expanded into our Research and Innovation Center, also at the Foothills Hospital, but on the university side. We have our Human Factors Simulation Laboratory. This is where really the heart of our research team and our research projects are taking place. I want to spend a second talking about our research team because I think we really pride ourselves on the multidisciplinary aspect of it. My background's in sociology. You heard Greg's background. We've got the physicians that we work with. We've got microbiologists. We've got bioethicists. So a really diverse group of people that can bring some new ideas and concepts and discussion any project that we do. So it's not just does something work, but why does it work? How does it impact the workflow? How does it impact the culture on the unit? How does it impact communication on the unit? All of these different things by having this diverse team coming together. Our research streams all fall under that umbrella of improving patient safety and quality of care and trying to make our health system better. We have three main streams of research that we do. First being industry projects. So groups like those of you in the audience today, we try to help validate and test new technologies and help bring them into the healthcare system. We work regularly with public sector groups like Health Quality Council of Alberta, Alberta Health Services, and the Ministry of Health on things like procurement evaluations, literature reviews to help inform policy. And there's a picture of an ambulance because we did actually an evaluation of how you design ambulances to be safer for both providers and patients. And then we have what we often call our passion projects. So investigators like John Conley that work with our program and have these ideas for ways that we can improve the health system. And we try to support, help them get money, help them spend money is what we often joke about, and help them support their passion areas. We have almost 60 projects, but I'm going to run through two, or 60 underway right now, but I'll run through two really quickly. And they're not necessarily my favorite, even though they are. So Clean Patch is the first one. Many of you in the audience might be familiar with them. And this is, I think, comes back to some of the concepts that have been discussed over the last few days, that innovations don't have to be complex. They don't have to be these years and years of development. Well, sometimes they do. But Clean Patch is something so simple. It's essentially a Band-Aid for a bed. So an ICU nurse identified a problem with damaged mattresses, very costly to repair, and a huge burden to the health system and a potential source of infection for patients. And so this company, Surface Medical here in Calgary, wanted to fix this. So you can kind of see the blue outline of the Clean Patch. And we worked with this company to look at a needs assessment within the health system, help provided feedback on the design, and then actually did clinical testing to compare how well you could clean the patch compared to a mattress. And they did quite well. They've since won Manning Innovation Awards as well as Aztec Awards here in Alberta, and have really grown and expanded all around the world. So it's really exciting to see a company from idea to full growth. You might have seen this project if you visited our booth, and it's not too late to do so, so head out on the break and do that. This is a brand new project inspired a little bit of the Passion Project, but also through a relationship with the Emily Carr Design Institute out of Vancouver. And they wanted to look at how you can visualize hand hygiene. So what we're doing is we've installed hand hygiene pumps, and we've actually made them so you can track within the pump how often they're being used. But as an extra component to that is we actually want to visualize hand hygiene. So you can see every time someone uses the pump, a hand pops up. We've been playing with different sounds and fun sounds, including like the Mario sound, but I think that's now copyrighted since we've been doing our project. So it's been a really cool project. So we were doing a quality improvement project on the unit, trying to look at how can this impact hand hygiene. Right now we're gathering data without the monitors, so just seeing how people use pumps as normal. And we're going to be putting the monitors on and looking at how people are interacting with the pumps with those monitors on. You can try the pumps out at our booth. So really just to wrap up, what makes us unique? I touched on our interdisciplinary nature. You can talk to most of our members of the team who are here today wearing our green shirts. Ask them their background because it's quite fascinating. Our simulation capabilities, didn't get to go into that too much today. You can ask Greg. Greg runs our sim lab and is our human factors program manager, so you can ask him more about that. That living laboratory, something that we hear time and time again is people have troubles accessing the health system and want to test some of the early stage products, and we want to provide that as a platform. And finally, helping foster partnerships. I mentioned some of our key partners that are in the room today. And then we also have partnerships like the international groups you're also seeing today. So we see ourselves really playing that bridge between the government, between industry, between academia, and between the health system. So that's W21C really quickly. And we can take some questions. I think we have some time. We were just that good. We told you everything you need to know.
You can see why I'm such a huge fan. It's a space that if I ever was to get sick, I want to go there. So just being very selfish here. It's time to introduce our next competitor. It's the last competitor that I'll be presenting. And it's Pedimings from Switzerland. The presenter will be Dr. Fredrik, I hope I say this right, Erler. And he's going to be presenting on an app to synchronize and calculate drug prep and delivery in various situations. Welcome.
So you can hear me? Yeah, I think so. So as you understood yesterday, drug administration is a worldwide recognized problem during pediatric resuscitation. Due to the high stress of the situation, due to the difficulty of the drug calculation, error occurs, time is lost. As a result, children die. To solve this problem, we have a solution, our product, Pedamine. Pedamine is an application for drug administration that has been scientifically proven to reduce administration error, to reduce time to injection, and to reduce caregiver stress. To build this tool, we relied on the competencies of a multidisciplinary tool composed of emergency physician, IT guys, and a business analyst. This team has already showed up numerous success in the past, developing patient app, caregiver apps. They are specialists in advanced human-computer interface. They have been awarded. In a few words, they are specialists in innovation. Among the products they have developed, many of them are already on user hand, and they have received a very warm welcome for their usage. So what about the market of this product? We have developed a whole business plan. Obviously, I won't explain you all the detail of it now because it will be too long. But I will just focus on some of the very important points that will show you the potential. First, the potential market. If Pedamine has been initially developed to be used in a resuscitation, emergency resuscitation area, it can be used also in many other settings. For instance, peripheral emergency center, medical humanitarian association, veterinary care, and also in every home where our children need to receive a medication. And if you look at the Swiss number of hospitals, it may be not impressive. But if we look at the European level in dark blue and in the world level in light blue, it becomes really, really much bigger. And just think about how many customers could be reached through the Worldwide Humanitarian Association. It's huge, really huge. Obviously, this promising market has also attracted other competitors. But a careful analysis of their product revealed that Pedamine is the only tool which is multilingual, which is that allow the prescription of vasoactive drugs that can be customized with your own drug list, that runs on every operating system, and that is, most importantly, supported by a clinical study. And what is most important when you take care of your child, that to be sure that your tool is efficient and that it has been validated. What we have done so far? So far, we have developed a full tool which is functional and who is ready to be put on the market. We have published the scientific evidence. We have prepared dissemination material as well as a strong business model. We are ready now to build up our startup and to start the adventure. So why you should invest into your product? It's because if in the first time the market seems a bit limited, by the evolution and the integration of new feature and the development into additional markets, the benefits will grow quickly, and most importantly, it's starting now. The product is ready. So if, like us, you think that the price of a children's life is priceless, join us in the Pedamine adventure. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for this presentation. I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, here.
Sorry.
First of all, why you're just focusing on children and not in any patients? Because we do drug calculations to any other patients, and it will be useful across, I think.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the point is that we did the first development of the tool with pediatrician, and it is known that for pediatrician, the calculation of drug doses is much more complicated due to the correction of the drug dose that has been done, that should be done due to the different patient weights. But obviously, the tool can be used in any population, and if it revealed that there is a need also for adult population, the tool can be used straight away because, as we say, it's customizable with any drug list.
Okay. Don't get me wrong, I like your product. I think it's extremely useful. I would love to have it in any hospital. But is it really a commercial innovation or a social innovation that improves practice?
I think it's what you want to do with it, but obviously from our business side, we have thought about a simple business plan, meaning that we will sell the product for a price which is not very expensive, because when we have looked at the competitors, we cannot afford to give this product a very high price. But obviously, when you think about humanitarian association, we can make special licenses that they can use it for humanitarian purposes.
The reason I'm asking that is because I can go tomorrow and develop a very similar thing with yours, and there's no problem because there's no copyright or IP there.
Yeah, that's a question I think that was already asked yesterday. But the really strength of our product is that it has been validated through clinical studies, and believe me, if there is a clinician here, they know how difficult it is to perform such kind of studies which are validated by scientific publication and so on. So obviously, even if the code is protected by copyright and there is a brand name that has been that exists, and the real value part of our product is that it's scientifically validated, and it has been revealed very, very important when you speak about product for healthcare.
Okay. And my last question, do you mind going back to the slide on the numbers of hospitals and...
You mean this one?
That one. Where do these numbers come from?
So our business analyst made a full review of the current situation on the market, about how many teaching hospitals were existing in Switzerland, worldwide, and in Europe. And I have certainly the detail of our source on my paper, but it will be like it's really a work of several weeks to look for these figures.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned the clinical trial as the main differentiator that you have. I wonder if you can expand on that. Is that static? Do you have a program for continuous improvement? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, so I think that has been shown also yesterday. So we plan to increase the feature of our tool. So the main goal was to ensure to reduce at the maximum these errors that can occur during resuscitation, and as well as the time which is lost. So we plan to integrate QR code recognition to link the tool directly with the infusion pump. And obviously, each of these steps will have to be validated through another study to be sure that the tool is really efficient.
Just a question, what is the cost per download for your app, and what are your projected revenues in the first year? And then the second question, what will you do from the proceeds if you were the winner today?
So we haven't exactly decided the price of the app right now, but it will be between $5 and $10.
And then what are your annual projected revenues?
Yeah. So we made projection based on the existing, the other competitor. It will be around 200,000 for the first years giving the cell.
Thank you very much.
very much. A round of applause for all the competitors from yesterday and today. Again, very cool. So the competition is now done. You've seen all these sort of businesses that are picking on very precise opportunities that seem to have so much impact. I wish them all luck. And the judges will be now moving on to their final deliberations here to determine who wins the prize money and so on. And what you're going to do is you're going to get a little bit of a break before the other main event for today, which is not only the announcement of the prize winners, but also a keynote from Suzanne West, the CEO of Imaginia Energy. And the awards will be presented right after her keynote. And what a pleasure and an honor it has been to be a part of this event. So thank you so much, and we'll see you at 12 o'clock sharp. Please.
Hold on, sir.
Thank you so much.
I really liked your presentation.
That's kind of it.
It's so you showed the South Asia. Remember the map you
Yes.
showed? So I'm from Bangladesh. My parents are from Bangladesh.
Yes.
So I'm quite aware how
bad this is.
how bad it is.
Yeah.
And I've seen my extended family members go through it. So yeah, I would love to read more about it. And I think they might have information on your project on the website. Or
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's great knowing you. Nice meeting you.